It's interesting. There's a proposal in our state to delay start times for schools.
Yes. So any parent out there or anyone who has gone to school, you can relate. There is a proposal going through the legislature right now to push back all school start times to nothing starting before 8:30. So if you have a student who has to be at school by 7:45 or 7:52 or whatever the interesting minutes are, the advocates for this bill say no, kids need to be able to sleep longer. They're more productive when they have more sleep. If we're waking them up at 6:30 to be at school by 7:30, that's not allowing them enough time to really get rest the night before and then get them ready for the day. So this bill is basically suggesting that no school start before 8:30 in the morning. However, a lot of parents have spoken out to say this would create chaos in my house. I have a job that starts at 8. I have to have my kids there at a certain time. So we want to know what you think about this, if this is something that you would be in favor of or something you feel like would create chaos within your own house.
Yeah. Don't have kids, we say that all the time here, but having gone through school, knowing what it's like to have a morning routine, especially in our line of work where we work a morning show, so we're up between the hour of 1 and 2 and here by 3. I know how important a morning routine is, more so now I realize how important it is than growing up, right? Because you're a kid and you think like, oh, I can get by with 1 less hour of sleep, but no, routine is so important. So I feel for these parents who, yes, have work at a certain time that really isn't flexible. So what are they going to do with the kid? I can see why this will create problems. I guess if you give anyone advance notice on anything, you're going to work it out. The kid's got to get to school. Does it mean 0 period? That the school's going to have to provide that?
This is specifically for middle and high school students, and so I think the elementary levels already start, correct me if I'm wrong, parents, at 8:30 or 9.
Okay.
So this would push back middle and high schoolers. So those kids who have the 0 period or the ROTC before, I don't know how that would impact if you're part of a club or part of something else that meets before school hours. But yeah, I don't know. Growing up, I know that for us in my family, once I had my own car to get to school, it would have been possible for me to get to school at whatever time I needed to. We didn't have a bus that was close enough to where we were in middle school. So my mom did need to drive me to school when I was in middle school. We would carpool with other parents. And as soon as they dropped us off, they were on their way to work. And so I can imagine that this would have caused a huge issue for me growing up, at least in our household, because it's already pushing your parent back to when they can start, especially with traffic, when everything starts to pick up, depending on the city you live in. But
well, I can see this going both ways, because the problem with that I experienced, we had to be in high school at 7:22, middle school 7:40.
What are these in between minutes, by the way?
And then the school across town had to be there at 7:09, and we would have magnets, so we would take math and science at the school that started at 7:09, and then go back to my high school for humanities and the rest of the classes. So it was always early, but we got out at like 2:10. So it was always a problem getting picked up. So kids, parents can drop you off and they could make it to work on time. But then after school, we would be sitting there for hours at the library across the street, or just hanging out at the pizza shop, or waiting for your sports practice to start at like 3:30 or 4, doing nothing. Because your parents don't get out of work at 2 o'clock. They can't pick you up. So you would have to legit just sit there. So I can see if the start time is pushed back, then maybe there won't be such a big gap between getting out of school and getting picked up. But I mean, you know, but now we have different options, and not saying this option is the best, but I was hearing, I think Bob was mentioning this, like his sister or someone, their kids take Uber to school. Like there's a neighborhood carpool Uber thing going on. So
times have changed.
Right, because if there's no bus and if the parents can't take you, and then your neighbor is like, I drive Uber, then the neighbor can just take 6 kids to school, drop them off
like officially Uber, where they call and
well, it's
through the app, or it's just a carpool
It's through the app, but again,
I'm sure now it's routine. Like the Uber driver knows.
It's like, okay, I'm picking these kids up and taking them.
Interesting.
So it's a different time, but again, if it starts later, then maybe they get out of school later. But I don't see a problem with that.
I don't see a problem with that, but what Dina, you were saying with the proposal, it's in an effort to get the kids sleeping longer, at least an hour more. Here's the thing, if you know you have school an hour later,
you're going to go to bed.
You're going to go to bed
later.
And like, woohoo, I can go to bed at 10 versus 9 because I have an extra hour. So yeah, the responsibility will be on the parents to say, no, it's the same thing. Just because you start later doesn't mean you want to get an hour less sleep.
Right, I know. And for a lot of parents, you know, I think they have their set bedtimes, because that's also, you get an hour to yourself, right? You know, if kids are in bed by 9, that means mom and dad have at least until 10 where they can be like, oh, no more kids.
Right.
But I do want to bring in some of your comments because you have some really good points. So first, Janet Piper says, I can see where this would disrupt the routine for a lot of people. If they're going to implement a later start time, at least give everyone a year's notice to prepare. I think that's a great idea. I know this is going to be pushed through for a vote or at least some more discussion and conversation next month. But yeah, it's something that I don't think they can say, okay, happen in this school season in 2 weeks, get ready for it. This is certainly something they would need to give parents a good amount of time to figure out how this would work. If you have to send letters home and try to see which other families live close to you in your neighborhood and try to work something out, because this is a huge deal. And I think too, moving something from 7:30 to 8:30, say that was the difference. For parents who start work at 8, they probably could get their kids to school at 7:15, and then they would meet their friends and they would have 45 minutes or so, and that would be fine. But if you're pushing it back a whole hour and a parent has a job that starts at 8, your kid could be at school for an hour and a half by themselves waiting, and then is there going to be...
It's defeating the purpose of the kids sleeping, because they're still having to get up and out the door.
Exactly.
Just
so
waiting,
maybe schools will think about offering some sort of, and I know some already do this, some before school type organized, you know, group of something for kids. And I know Walt Gray was saying earlier that his school did offer that for his kids, but it costs money. So yeah, I don't know. Keep weighing in, because I'm curious.
Jenny has a good comment.
Go ahead, Cornelia.
She says, I dislike it. My daughter's high school just changed by an hour from 7:30 to 8:30. Oh. They can go to bed earlier. My son now starts way earlier. Total mess. Plus, kids get out later. That cuts into sports time and time for homework. So it does switch up the whole routine. But I know back in the day, my mom used to just drop us off whenever she had time and pick us up whenever they had time.
And we just got used to it.
And we just got used to it. Our public library was right next door to our high school, so we would just hang out at the library or at Rizzo's Pizza Shop. Because
how did you know when mom was going to come? No cell phones, right?
You better be outside at 5 o'clock or you getting left.
You knew.
Yeah, it was like, I bet I'm going to be out there. I'm not playing with you. You need to be out there.
And you're an example of a kid who didn't need that sort of, I'm just assuming based off what you're saying, that didn't necessarily need that type of discipline. Because the problem here, right, you get the kids with extra time on their hands, that's when they're going to start getting into trouble if they're not involved in any sports, or if they're a kid who knows they have extra time. Yeah, you're right, potentially. This is not the case. People like Cornelia, you know, you go and mom and dad trust you because it's really the only option. But I want to know more from these California school districts, because every district is so different. You know, you talk about LA Unified, it's way different than the Chaffey Joint Unified I'm just talking about in Southern California than here in Northern California. You know, you're talking about the culture is different in each county.
Well, in some areas of Northern California are very rural, so it takes people a longer time to get to and from wherever they're going. So, you know, dropping your kid off at 7:30 to be at work by 8:30, it could take you an hour to get across town. I'm also seeing, Jenny said one more thing, saying kids need to prepare for life. Jobs do start at 9 so people can get more sleep. Some do, yeah, the state jobs do start at 9 o'clock. There's a lot of 8 to 5s, you know, so some are before that. But then Joanne Marie said, I have to get ready once my kids are on the bus on the days that I work. That would mess our schedule up if school started later. So yeah, you think about the parents who would have to completely rearrange what their routines are to make this work. So hopefully if it happens, they'll give them time.
Well, let me throw this out there, because as far as schedule for parents, yes, it's going to be a disaster. However, a lot of kids are passing out sleeping in class because they have to be up so early. They have so much homework. They're on the soccer team, they're cheerleading, or they're on the yearbook committee after school, and then get home and do homework. So is it necessarily, yes, it's going to be bad for the parents and we have to, you know, rearrange things. Would you rather that or your kid to be knocked out slobbering on the desk in class because they're not getting enough sleep because they have to be up at 6 to be at school at 7?
Good point.
Depends on the child, right?
Yeah.
Some kids are just early birds and they're ready. I know my little cousins, you know, one in particular, very disciplined, ready to start the day as early as possible. You know, push it back any further, then yeah, maybe he gets more tired because as the day goes on, he's been up since 5 a.m. You know, so again, it just depends on the kid. But let us know as the school year starts how you think this may affect you and your family.
Yeah, and Bridget said her daughter starts at 8:40, but there's a 7:30 drop off with free breakfast.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's
a
most important meal of the day.
That's amazing that the school offers that. Which school is that? Is that here in California? That's great. And then Maggie said, kids these days are lazy enough. We don't need to give in to every little thing. Children already have so many allowances, too many in my opinion. Life will not change for them. Why should school?
So she's saying, suck it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for your opinions, as always.
Of course. Okay.